GMGP, good morning, good people. Y'all could have been anywhere in the world, but y'all decided to wake up with us. You're sick. You're sick in the head. There's a lot of fantasy football shows out there, but I promise y'all, they not like us. Brock Bowers, you looked a little quicker than fast. What does that even mean? Redraft, dynasty, best ball, high stakes, we got you covered. And that's MVS and Justin Watson with some of the dopest tools designed to help you cancel out the noise and dominate your leagues. If there's a white wide receiver named Antoine, sign me up. Maybe it's cultural. I don't know. In season or off season, rain, sleet, hail, and snow, comma, semicolon, period, next sentence, to bring you the most actionable and entertaining content on YouTube. You don't go buy the dip on the Titanic.
Quarterback that you love, D-Bro. One of the best values in fantasy football.
Prop bets with my man JRich.
Is that yes! Let's go!
So wipe the crust out of your eye, get you a cup of coffee. It's time to wake y'all asses up with Ray
and Jay
in the morning.
My God.
How good is he?
How good,
baby? Let's get it, baby. GMGP. It is Wednesday, November 26th, 2025. Y'all decided to wake y'all asses up with myself and my brother from another mother, Jordan Richard. You can find him on X at your boy JRich. This is Wake Up with Ray and Jay every Monday, every Wednesday, and pretty much every single Friday, 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, right over here on YouTube. If you are unable to catch the show live, I see some people in the chat now. G-Trey81 finally able to catch one of the best fantasy sports shows live. If you can't get it live, like my dog right here, G-Trey81, who's in the building today, and you subscribe to the podcast feed, Wake Up with Ray and Jay, you get us everywhere. Apple, Spotify, Google, Stitcher, wherever you get your podcasts at. You can check us out at your own convenience. But if you are here and you are in the building with the good Wake Up chat, engage with the people in the chat. Let Jay and I know what you're thinking about these games this weekend, and most importantly, support the channel. Hit the thumbs up button, like the stream, helps us in that algorithm, and then subscribe to the channel for all the content we drop right over here on the channel. JRich, how you doing today, big dog?
I'm good, man. I'm good. I wanted to wish everybody a happy Thanksgiving because, of course, it is Thanksgiving tomorrow. You will be heading out for your Thanksgiving very shortly. But I am excited because there is some great games on tap this weekend.
Sir.
And more importantly, Ray, your Cowboys, once again, primetime spot.
How about it?
Gotta have it game against the Chiefs. I'm so excited, man. So excited. It's going to be a great slate of football. Let's get into it because I know you need a bit of a shorter show today.
Well, I still got to engage with the people. I still got to. This is important. This is important right here. Happy Stranger Things Day to those who have been waiting 3 to 4 years. JRich, Stranger Things drops today. I'm pretty excited. It's been a while. Them little kids that I watched a long time ago, they're like 25 now, but it's okay. Yeah. We're gonna pretend that they're still elementary, junior high age. So yeah, Stranger Things today. I don't know if there's any other cool stuff happening, but as you said, shout out to everybody. Wishing you, if you celebrate Thanksgiving, a happy holiday with family. Be safe, travel, have fun, drink, watch ball. It's gonna be a good time, JRich. But yes, we've got some dope games on tap, Jay. We got to talk about it. Let's get into it, baby.
Yeah, let's start with a bit of news items I do have here for the people. Now, it's fairly early in the week. A lot of the news just stems around the Thursday games, but there is a few things to highlight here coming into this week. So one of the things is in that very first game that I'm sure we can even start with, Detroit-Green Bay, we may see Jaden Reed return in that game. So Matt LaFleur has not ruled it out. He said we're going to find out on Thursday, though. So make sure you watch those practice reports to see what happens today, and make sure you check to see if Jaden Reed is active. Maybe you want to start him. Good matchup, probably a very high-scoring game in Detroit. We'll see how that goes. Ray, the Kansas City Chiefs will be without Trey Smith, who's dealing with a high and low ankle sprain, hasn't practiced yet. He is not going to be playing in the game against the Cowboys. Rashee Rice practiced all week, good to go, as along with Isaiah Pacheco, who will also be playing against the Cowboys. And in my opinion, that's actually a good thing because Kareem Hunt's been looking pretty good for that offense. Sprinkling in some Pacheco there, probably going to be good for them. The Bills signed Brandon Cooks after the Saints waived him. Interesting to see how that fits in. Kyle Hamilton will be active.
You know it's bad when you got to go get that Brandon Cooks. You know it's rough in them streets, man.
The thing about Cooks though is that I feel like I can see how he fits with Josh Allen and within the offense because of the players they have. It's probably not going to work out.
This
but
ain't the same Brandon Cooks that you remember from New Orleans the first time, like 10 years ago. Yeah,
Hey,
I know what
Brandon
you're thinking.
Cooks was good on Dallas. He was good on the Saints the first time.
Cooks that was in New England 8 years ago. This ain't the same Cooks that was in LA. No, man, I don't know, Jay. I don't know, man. I don't know.
Maybe he can still get deep, draw a PI, help out that offense a little bit. Omarion Hampton has been designated to return, so his 21-day window has been open. And Coach Harbaugh was asked about the carry split between Omarion Hampton and Kamani Vidal. He said, "We will see how this week goes," which meaning maybe, just maybe, there's an outside chance that Hampton plays this week. Now, Ray, I do want your thoughts on this one. Cardinals OC Drew Petzing said he'll continue to put Michael Wilson higher in the progression, even when Marvin Harrison Jr. returns. Now, we don't know if he's going to be back this week, but how do you feel about that, knowing your boy Michael Wilson may stay higher in the progression even when Marvin Harrison Jr. comes back?
Production talks, non-production walks. You got to produce. You got, and I think in the case of Marv, that number one pick kind of shine, it wears off after about 2 years.
It's wearing off, yeah.
It's been about 2 years, and you have yet to. What's another topic for another day? Good for Michael Wilson. They're throwing the ball at a historic clip right now. Over the last 3 games, Jacoby Brissett's passed the ball like 150 times, which is insane. So I do think some of this is just a byproduct of how much they're throwing the ball. Him getting 15 targets a week, with Trey McBride getting 15 targets, Greg Dortch getting he's getting 10 damn targets a week. So, and they can't run the ball right now. So,
and they're playing the Bucs this week, who are a pass funnel.
Number one.
I want to add what you also said. Petzing added, when you produce in this league, we're going to give you more opportunities to continue to do that.
Come on, man. It's like I know ball. It's like sometimes I know what I'm talking about, JRich. Sometimes not. More times I do. Yeah, you got to produce, man. Good for Michael Wilson.
Yeah, so Aaron Rodgers should be back this week. Mike Tomlin said he's greatly optimistic, was his word choice, about Aaron Rodgers starting this week against the Buffalo Bills. But they will be without left tackle Broderick Jones, so that blind side for Aaron Rodgers could be in question. And then Bucs OC Todd Bowles also said the team would need to change the entire offense. Well, he didn't say the entire offense, but he said they need to change the offense if Teddy Bridgewater was the starter for them. Of course. Which makes a lot of sense, right? Because he doesn't play the same way Baker does.
We talked about this on Monday. He looked terrible. He looked awful. And somebody in the comments that came to me and said, "Ray, you were defending Shedeur coming in and not looking good off the bench, but then you buried Teddy Bridgewater." And my response to that was, well, Teddy Bridgewater is supposed to be an experienced veteran. He's been in the league 10 damn years. He should be able to come in and look halfway competent. He literally threw the ball like Uncle Rico. He did just like that. He did that and laughed about it after the fact. He looked terrible. Yes, they will have to change the entire offense. They'll probably run the ball 50 damn times if Bridgewater has to play quarterback. But as I alluded to on Monday, ain't nothing wrong with Baker Mayfield. Wasn't nothing wrong with Baker Mayfield on Monday. Didn't it say he's probably going to play? There's a chance for him to play?
It wasn't as bad as they thought it was going to be, and there is a chance that he will play.
Wasn't shit wrong with Baker but his pride.
The thing is that they don't
2 passes
need
up to that point. He was getting beat around. He knew it was coming. They waved the white flag. Wasn't nothing wrong with Baker but his pride.
Yeah, but still, man, it's gonna be very tough for Baker. Like, again, the way that he looked was bad, and he was playing against a good defense. But to say it was just his pride that was hurt, I don't know if that's necessarily the case. And especially going to this week against an Arizona defense that is pretty good, if he gets hit a couple times, he could struggle. So I'd be curious if they hold him out, because they really just need to beat Carolina and that's it. And outside of that, that's basically playing for the division and a bit of seeding there. But for the Bucs, you're only playing for the NFC South title. And that's pretty much it at this point, because they've been so bad lately. They've allowed, I think, 30 points each of their last 3 games after the bye. It's just not looking good for them. But that is it for the news and notes. Do you want to kick things off with Detroit and Green Bay, or do you want to get straight into Dallas, Kansas City?
I said Baker was in a slate. That was all posturing. That was all for show. It's like when my son gets a small scratch and he's like, "Can I get a Band-Aid?" And it wasn't nothing wrong with Baker. I'm telling you, wasn't nothing wrong with Baker. But yeah, let's start with the early game. And honestly, Jay, this Thanksgiving slate might be one of the best I've ever seen, at least in recent memory, because normally you get the damn Cowboys and the Raiders. It's like the Giants playing, damn Dolphins and the Jets on a Friday. I mean, we got Green Bay, Detroit, Kansas City, Dallas. We got Baltimore and in Cincinnati. We'll see. And then on Friday, the Black Friday game, we get Philadelphia versus Chicago. So I think we've got an amazing slate of Thursday, Friday, college football rivalries on Saturday, and then the rest of the NFL slate on Sunday. But this Packers-Lions game, Lions at home, favored by 2.5. They already played first game of the season. JRich, I don't know if you needed to look at the box scores to remind yourself how awful a lot of these Lions were in that game. I mean, Gibbs didn't hit 20 yards rushing. David Montgomery didn't hit 30 yards rushing, right? Gibbs had 10 catches for 30 yards in that game, and it was just a slugfest. Amon-Ra, I think he had 4 catches, 45 yards in that matchup. J-Mo didn't do much in there. Sam Laporta was actually the team's leader in receiving in that game versus Green Bay week 1. Listen, the Packers defense is still very, very incredibly difficult. This is a tough defensive unit, and it's hard because we just saw, and I think recency bias really lives here with Detroit. We just saw Jahmyr Gibbs go apeshit. So it's like, are you really trying to say like it's gonna be a repeat of week 1 after we just saw him go for 220 yards on 15 carries? I don't think he's going to perform as badly as he did in week 1. This should be a good game. I'm curious to see what Detroit does. We talk about dome golf versus outdoor golf, but the reality is, I don't know if you guys have felt it the way that we have watching it, but this is a much different Lions offense without Ben Johnson. Like David Montgomery, he might be good for the team, but for fantasy, he's been, I mean, you're starting him every time and he's giving you nothing. Absolutely nothing with David Montgomery. I don't feel great about Jameson Williams. I do think they will target him. He's not going to have 0 catches, 0 yards again, but do you really want to play J-Mo? And let's just talk about the context of this, JRich. It's week 13, right? Mm-hmm. Next week is fantasy playoffs. We got to have it. Like, so I can say all that shit, but it's like, if you need the upside play, who would you rather start, Jameson Williams or Romeo Doubs? You got to get the win. You're trying to get in the fantasy playoffs. Like, where are you at with the Detroit side of the ball offensively?
So I think your point about Gibbs and Montgomery is definitely a fair one, but if we expect this Lions team to perform at least an adequate level, put up 24, 27 points on this defense, maybe a lot considering how they looked in week 1, but playing at home, they do play much better. But it definitely, the way they looked defensively last week, there's some questions over whether or not they're going to be able to stop the Packers, even with how bad the Packers have looked. Now, for me, I would start Jameson Williams because, again, I think the boom upside for him is just extremely high. Romeo Doubs hasn't been the number 1 target consistently in the offense since Christian Watson came back. And so I would be willing to start Jameson Williams. Now, you talked about Jahmyr Gibbs' struggles, Dave Montgomery's struggles in that first game. I'm obviously not going to say that Gibbs is going to have 20 yards again, but I wouldn't be shocked if he struggled either, right? This Green Bay front is very strong, and they have been great against the run all year. It wouldn't be an out-of-character thing for them to once again be strong against the run and have success against Gibbs, have success against Montgomery, and I think Detroit needs to find ways to pass the football to ultimately win this football game. The question really, Ray, for me to you is, can we see any life from this Packers offense? They can't run the ball with Emmanuel Wilson 30 times to beat the Detroit Lions. It's just probably not going to happen. Can Jordan Love show up on Thursday and get 250 yards and 3 touchdowns to go out and actually win a game rather than just trying to survive? Because, Ray, the Green Bay Packers are 7-3-1, the Detroit Lions are 7-4, the Chicago Bears are 8-3, and they're playing the Philadelphia Eagles this week. This could be for the lead in the division, depending on who wins this game, because we kind of expect Chicago to lose in Philly. But how do you feel about Green Bay's offense, and do you trust anybody to start?
Well, Detroit is 4th worst in the NFL at allowing fantasy points to the wide receiver position. They're allowing about 33 PPR points per game to the wide receivers. Through the air total, Detroit ranks 22nd in total receiving fantasy points allowed. So the secondary is much more beatable than their up front. Against the run, Detroit's 10th best opponent rushing fantasy points per game. They've allowed 33 runs of 10-plus yards, which is about middle of the pack. That's 17th in the NFL. So their run defense is solid. It's not elite. They're much, much shakier against wide receivers. So I think what Green Bay will need to do in this game is throw the ball. They got to open it up with Jordan Love. The passing attack has felt anemic over the last couple of weeks. They've got to get it going with Jordan Love. Detroit is very shaky versus the wide receiver position. And, on the other side of the ball, again, talking about how good the Packers are, they're number 1 in defense against slot wide receivers, allowing 4 PPR points per game to slot wide receivers. And over the last 3 weeks, get this, JRich, they're allowing an absurd 0.64 PPR points per game to slot wide receivers. Number one in the NFL. Again.
Not good for Amon-Ra.
Again, I'm not going to, this isn't a don't start Amon-Ra St. Brown. This ain't none of that stuff. You're playing him. You're starting him with full confidence. I'm just giving you the data. I'm just the messenger, JRich, of how good this defense has played against certain alignments and certain receivers. But who do you think wins the game? Who did you pick? Because we got Bleacher Report next.
I know we haven't done the show, so we haven't divulged our picks to each other. Yeah. But I did take the Lions. I think the Lions at home. My whole narrative with this game is that I don't think the Lions, and especially knowing Dan Campbell and kind of just the way that he approaches coaching, the way he speaks to the media, like they got embarrassed week one. They did. Right? And they need to show up in this game. They're playing at home. There's no excuses. The offense isn't what it was week one. They're playing much better. And especially with this team, the trouble has been inconsistencies offensively. They've been more so on the road than at home. The defense didn't look good last week, but I think it'll look much better this week against the Packers, much more familiar opponent. But yeah, I think for me, the Detroit Lions should win this game. Dan Campbell's going to have his team ready. They can't get embarrassed once again by the Packers. I think that'd be a really bad look for them. And like I mentioned, this is a big hinge game for the division as well, because if they lose this game to the Packers, then you fall another game behind the Packers. You're already a half game behind them, and then you may even fall further beyond Chicago as well in subsequent weeks. So it's a big game for the division and a big game in terms of the fact they got embarrassed week one.
Yeah, Collins said that they gotta, if they want to win, they have to win if they want any shot at the division. Any shot at the division, they've got to get it back. And Rico says Terrion Arnold should be back this week as well. Cornerback Keyshawn Nixon for Green Bay, game time decision. So game time decision, Nixon, pretty good slot corner, could affect the pass catchers for the Lions. Ultimately, the quarterback's got to show up. The Lions need Jared Goff to play like a former Super Bowl contending quarterback. And the Green Bay Packers need Jordan Love to just play better. Just play better. Jordan Love, push the ball downfield, get the ball to Christian Watson. Looks like Josh Jacobs will be back in this one as well. So Emmanuel Wilson probably back to the bench, even though he'll probably still get touches. You can't really bank on him being a significant producer for you in this one. He's back to the bench. Bell Cow Jacobs probably is back. He's probably back. So there's that game. I did pick Green Bay to win this one, JRich, on the road. I did pick the Packers to win on the road versus Detroit. So, I mean, Detroit, let's be real. We keep pumping up that Gibbs, and he had a phenomenal game. Incredible game. That was a goddamn dogfight against the Giants and Jameis Winston.
Almost lost to the Giants.
I mean, they looked awful for about 2.5 quarters. So this was a dogfight versus the Giants. And you saw the Giants fire their damn defensive coordinator after the game that they blew versus Detroit as well. Let's move on to the second game on the slate. JRich, oh boy, Chiefs Kingdom versus Dallas. The Chiefs and the Cowboys. Cowboys riding a little bit of a high right now. This defense, JRich, has been, listen, I understand sample size is small. Very small sample size. But since they got Logan Wilson and Quinn Williams, Dallas, they basically bought a run defense. The first 9 games, they were averaging opponents almost 31 points per game, which was second last in the NFL. But since the bye/trades, weeks 11 and 12, they're only allowing 18 points per game, which is 11th best in the NFL. They were giving up about 400 yards per game, second to the bottom of the NFL. Now they're only giving up about 287 yards per game, which is 7th best in the NFL. So they've chopped their yardage down 100 yards per game over these last 2 games with Quinn Williams, with Logan Wilson. They were allowing about 143 yards on the ground per game, 45 yards on the ground over these last two games. Again, sample size incredibly small, but here's the thing. Nobody needs this Dallas defense to be all world. They don't need to be the 85 Bears. They don't need to be the 2000 Ravens. Just be average, right? Just don't be bottom of the barrel as they were for the first 2 quarters of the season this year. If they're just average, JRich, I absolutely think this team can go on a run. They can absolutely go on a run. So, I think it's going to be hard for Dallas and Javonte Williams to run the ball against Kansas City. No one can run against Kansas City. Jonathan Taylor pretty much was shut down versus the Chiefs. He had 50-something yards, and 32 of them came on one play. So I'm not expecting a big game from Javonte Williams, but I do think that they can win with their receivers. Like, that's how they're going to have to do it. They're going to have to throw the ball. They're going to have to force Mahomes into some bad situations. I've got Dallas winning this game, JRich, at home. I've got the Cowboys upsetting the road favorite Kansas City Chiefs in this matchup.
Yeah, I mean, I think this sets up really well for Dallas. You know, you're talking about Javonte. You don't think he's going to have a big game. I honestly disagree. While, yes, Kansas City has had success against opposing running backs, I think the big X factor here is who's the best player on the Cowboys. The answer is Dak Prescott, and number 2 is probably George Pickens. Number 3 is probably CeeDee Lamb. If you're making a game plan to stop the Dallas Cowboys, the plan is not to stop Javonte Williams. The plan is to make sure that George Pickens and CeeDee Lamb and Dak Prescott don't go crazy on you, generating big plays, chunk plays, and everything like that. So that's where I think maybe there could be some opportunities for Javonte to have a decent game, you know, score a touchdown, maybe get to 100 yards, find some rushing lanes. Like, there should be some opportunities because they can't just play single high and expect them not to get shredded by George Pickens and CeeDee Lamb. And so I think because of that, it will just open up those running games for Javonte and he can have a good game. Now, who wins is another conversation.
Well, here's the thing.
These are the games.
You're going to start Javonte. I'm just saying this to manage expectations. I do think Dallas will try to run the ball. Kansas City's got one of the best run defenses in the NFL. I mean, I'm not going to be like,
early in the year, they were a little questionable stopping the run.
They've got their 8th best in explosive runs allowed. Only 26 carries this season have gone 10-plus yards against the Kansas City Chiefs. They're allowing about 97 yards per game. That's 8th best in the NFL right now. So, I mean, it's not number 1, but it ain't number 15 or number 22. It's a top 10 defensive unit against the run.
Yeah, and I think it's just you compare it to last week, and it's like, well, yeah, the plan should be to stop Taylor and force Jones to beat you. I think it's kind of the opposite when you're playing a team like the Cowboys. Chiefs are 1-4 on the road, Ray, and 0-2 on the road in primetime games this season, playing in Dallas in what should be the highest rated game of the year.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
I do have your Cowboys winning this game. I think they're going to win this game. As much as I want to take Mahomes, I just haven't seen enough from this team that I believe in them. Like, sure, you went out and you beat the Colts and the defense looked great against Daniel Jones. Like, it's just not the same when you're playing the Cowboys. And, you know, I've been in that building when it's like rocking, going crazy. Like, this team plays so much better at home than they do on the road. And the Chiefs in particular have not played well on the road. They're 1-4 on the road this season. Like, there's a reason they're 6-5. It's because they can't win on the road. And thinking they're going to go into Dallas on Thanksgiving when the place will probably be the craziest it'll be all year, I don't know. Like, I understand the Chiefs being favorites, but I think the Dallas's defense can be good enough to hold them to 20 to 24 points once again, and Dallas's offense scores enough points to win. They're not going to be down 21-0 like they were against the Eagles. They're not playing a defense that's as good as the Eagles' defense is, and I think the offense is playing at an extremely high level. Give me the Cowboys, and they're going to beat the Chiefs.
I think one of the other sort of things that is not being discussed is how difficult this 3-game stretch is for the Dallas Cowboys. They had Philadelphia. They've got Kansas City this week. They've got Detroit next week. They play Thursday this week, and they play Thursday at Detroit. So they're playing. Yeah, think about how many games they've
2 years in a row, right?
Yeah, think about how many games they will have had in a 15-day stretch. You know, they played on Sunday. Now they play on Thursday.
Same with the Lions, though, right?
Yeah,
the Lions have the Thursday as well.
It's a rough little stretch for those teams. So I think a lot of stuff is going to come down to just attrition, availability, and one of the things working against the Dallas Cowboys is their starting left tackle, Tyler Guyton, probably going to miss this game with a high ankle sprain. So you've got 2 very important pieces of each offensive line unit missing. I think Trey Smith being out for Kansas City is a big problem because that front 3 for Dallas, Quinn Williams, Osi Odigizua, and Kenny Clark, with Ezeraku off of the edge, Dante Fowler getting him some pass rush snaps. That defensive front is really, really, really solid. So we'll see how in the backup, someone with the C, Odunze or whatever his name is for Kansas City, not good. When he had to replace Trey Smith,
not good in general.
Not good. So we'll see how this one works out. But I do think Dallas ultimately wins this game. Jay, where are you at with Lamb and Pickens? That's a lot of the conversation this week. I said it on Monday. I think they're both top 10 receivers. Mm-hmm. Listen, I know everybody's kind of down on CeeDee Lamb. I'm not even going to talk about overthrows. I'm not going to talk about foot was out of bounds. Had he just caught the passes that hit him in the hands, literally just hit him in the hands, You're talking about two players on Dallas that went for over 100 yards, that scored a touchdown. CeeDee Lamb would have led the team in targets. I don't think there would have been this visceral reaction to CeeDee Lamb falling off the face of the earth had he just caught the passes that hit him between the 8 and the 8. Nothing else. Just the ones that hit you in the end zone, the over route across the middle of the field. He's over 100 yards and a touchdown. I don't think this is some widespread panic. I fully expect Lamb to get peppered with targets, opportunity, and produce alongside George Pickens.
Yeah, so I think this could be a big land game, actually. I wouldn't be surprised if Pickens saw top coverage. I mean, the way he's played recently, he's definitely played like the number one target in the offense, and we'll kind of see how they adjust. But yeah, I think that especially if you're Kansas City, your job should be to limit the big plays, and I think that could just open some things underneath for CeeDee Lamb, and it's more of a, matriculate the ball down the field slowly versus generate the big plays. But I think it could be a big CeeDee Lamb game versus Pickens, who will probably still be fine, but I think that the edge may go to CeeDee in this one.
They are 8th best, the Kansas City Chiefs defense, at limiting outside wide receivers fantasy points. 8th best. And just contrast, right? Kansas City great at locking up outside receivers. The Dallas Cowboys, my Dallas Cowboys, dead last versus outside wide receivers, allowing about 27 PPR points per game to the wide receivers aligned on the outside of an offensive formation. So you've got...
How about that Worthy, right? Is it a worthy week? It hasn't been. It's been some weeks since it was a worthy week.
It is not a worthy week.
He is not
back
worthy,
in Texas. He's back in Texas. He may have a game. They probably need to throw damn Tyquan Thornton out there a little bit more. The offense looked like it worked a little bit. They probably need to get Tyquan involved a little bit more, JRich. They probably do. He's done
a pretty good job stretching the field for that team and just kind of opening things up underneath.
Here's what I talked about with Matt Harmon yesterday is, sure, that's what Kansas City should do. They should be able to beat them over the top. They should use Xavier Worthy, Tyquan Thornton down the field, but it's been their inability to hit the deep ball all season that's the most concerning. They have not been able to capitalize on those deep shots, and it hasn't just been this season. This is what people have been talking about for the last 3 years. So do I expect them to magically fix it this week? Dallas is riding high. They got to win this game. Kansas City, even if they lose, I still believe they've got like a 40% chance.
It's 30% if they win. It's like 35% if they lose, and like 61% if they win.
If they win.
So it's a pretty big swing, though.
Dallas has they got to win out.
It's like 12-4, I think.
They've got to win out
for them.
They've got to win out, and it's a tough slate, but if they can get through these next 2 games, they've got a good shot at it. It is absolutely a must-win game for the Dallas Cowboys. All right, JRich, we got to take a little bit of a break. Got to take a break. Hit the thumbs up button, like the stream, subscribe to the channel if you are new. We'll be right back after the break. GMGP, welcome back to the show. This is Wake Up with Ray and Jay every Monday, every Wednesday, and every Friday right here on the channel. Make sure you check out all of the other content over on DDFFB. That's DD Fantasy Football. Got a whole crew of folks over there giving you dynasty and fantasy football content every single day of the week. Dynasty Theory, Scott Connor, Shane, Brandon, Ty, Gabe, All Gas Trade Show, all the good stuff over there. And I drop content over there later today. Trust it, JRich. They got to trust it. Trust that Trinity. Week 12. Usage and opportunity report. Scott and I going through wide receivers, tight ends, what they did in week 12 and what we think they may do here this week in week 13. So check that out a little later this afternoon. What time is it dropping, JRich? You said about 4 o'clock?
3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Ray, did you get into Justin Jefferson and why you should trade him away?
I don't know. I think we talked about Jefferson a little bit, but I mean,
his Trinity score was very far off the regression line. this week.
Well, that's what happens. I talked about Justin Jefferson on an article that I wrote for Yahoo that'll get published today, but I do think the struggles continue big time this week versus Seattle. And if we get through these games, we'll probably touch on that. The moment to have traded to send Justin Jefferson away feels like it has slipped away, especially for this season. I think people kind of are accepting the fact that this is probably going to be a bad year. It's
going to get worse before it gets better.
It's over now. If you drafted Jefferson at the top of the draft, you probably didn't make it. You probably didn't make it unless you made some moves.
Oh, if he was your first round pick, come on. You're basically stuck at that point.
And he was going off the board real early. He was going off the board top 5, top 6. So just an unfortunate season for him. He is on pace for his worst statistical season of his NFL career and the lowest fantasy output of his NFL career. But we've got another game that we've got to talk about, JRich. Lamar Jackson. Joe Burrow is back. The Cincinnati Bengals and the Baltimore Ravens doing battle. And normally, these are some high-scoring affair games. Jamar Chase, I don't know if you've seen what he's done versus Baltimore in his career. The last
he
time,
smokes him, doesn't he?
Well, check this out, Jay. The last time that Jamar Chase faced the Ravens without T. Higgins, it was like November of last year. It was around the same time. And he had 11 catches on 17 targets for 264 yards and 3 touchdowns. The last time he had to go up against the squad without T. Higgins, he had 264, 3 tutties on 11 catches. Now you get motivated Chase. He's already drafted that ChatGPT apology. He posted that apology. ChatGPT helped him out. He left the dash marks in there. You got rookie mistake. If you use it, you got to take the dash marks out, JRich. Dash marks are a dead giveaway, especially when it's like 13 of them in one paragraph. Dead.
And they're long as shit.
And they're not the short dash, the long dash. I don't even know where that button is on the keyboard. But Chase is back. Week off, rested up, shamed and embarrassed, JRich. So now he gets to face Baltimore with his quarterback back.
Shame.
No T. Higgins.
Shame.
Lamar Jackson not playing well. Where you at with this one? Baltimore favored by 7, 51.5 points total. I don't know, JRich. I don't know about that.
Well, yeah, because the question is does the offense for Baltimore show up in this game? Now, I do think there is some potential concerns over whether or not Cincinnati can actually stop Derrick Henry, because Derrick Henry is basically the only bright spot right now for this team, which is saying a lot because he hasn't even looked that good rushing the football, but he has been able to do some things, push the ball down the field for this offense, help out Lamar Jackson, take some pressure off of him because he's been awful. Like since the Miami game, which is kind of crazy because against Miami, he looked pretty good, but ever since then, he's been pretty bad. We're talking about Joe Burrow, right? And him coming back off injury, people think he may have rushed back off of injury and still may be hurt. But, at least him in the media, he's like, I'm not going out there to play scared. I'm going to rip the football. I'm going to throw it all over the yard. I'm going to do whatever we can to win. Like, there's something about the confidence of Joe Burrow that makes you think that the Bengals should not be 7-point dogs in this game. Say what you want about the defense. Say what you want about the offense without T. Higgins. Like, Joe Burrow's confidence should give you at least the hope that the Bengals can stay competitive in this game and they're not going to get dominated by the Ravens. And then on the other side, you have Lamar Jackson. And how does he give you any confidence this team can put up more than 20 points in a game? Because they just simply have barely been able to do it at all. And I'm sure part of it is injury. It's his hesitancy to run. The offense as a whole is not playing overly well. And I kind of think the Bengals defense is getting a little bit better. Like, it's not that they're getting a lot better, but in the past couple of weeks, they've played a little bit better than their season averages might suggest. And that's where it's like, I understand the games in Baltimore, and I believe that since Joe Burrow and Lamar Jackson have been the starters, respectively, since like 2018, they've only won 4 times against Baltimore. I think only one of those is actually in Baltimore, so it's a tough place to play. This game goes to overtime all the time. It's like 30-30 every single time. Should be a high-scoring game, but I just don't know if I believe that Lamar and the boys can score points. How do you feel about Lamar, and how do you feel about Joe Burrow coming back?
Let me give you some numbers, and then I want you to tell me how you feel about this, right? Lamar Jackson's pressure to sack rate this year, JRich, 24.5%, 4th worst in the NFL. Only Geno Smith, J.J. McCarthy, and Cam Ward turned more pressures into sacks more often than Lamar Jackson this year. He took 23 sacks all of last year in total total for the whole 2024 season. He's already up to 24 sacks. So he's already exceeded his sack total from last year. I don't know what to expect from this Ravens offense. And I know he's injured. He's hurt. He's not healthy. He's not 100%. If he's not 100%, I don't know how this Ravens team wins, JRich. And to your point about Cincinnati's defense getting better, I had to look this up because as I was doing some research for the show yesterday, I was like, this can't be right. Like, there's no way this is right. And then I went through the actual game logs to go look at number one wide receivers against the Bengals. Awful, JRich. Awful. You do not beat Cincinnati throwing at DJ Turner, who I believe is the second highest graded cornerback in the NFL. They are one of the best defenses in the NFL versus the wide receiver position. They only allow 22.5 fantasy points per game to wide receivers, fifth best in the NFL. I was like, there's no way Cincy's defense fifth best. All I'm saying there's no wells. I've already looked at it. The number one receiver that's been able to go for over 100 against Cincinnati has been Amon-Ra St. Brown, and that was weeks ago. Where you beat Cincinnati, they're dead last at allowing fantasy points to the tight end position. Dead last, and by a large margin. They're giving up 25 points per game to tight ends. The next closest, JRich, the Jacksonville Jaguars, 15 points per game. A full 10 points higher than the second closest team at allowing fantasy points to the tight end position, probably because they don't have linebackers. And they also allow the most points, number one in the NFL, to the running back position. So that's what I'm saying. You don't beat them on the outside. And here's the good thing for Baltimore. They don't have an outside receiver. So it shouldn't matter. It shouldn't matter. They don't have anybody to throw to on the outside. You're hoping DJ Turner doesn't follow around Zay Flowers because that's about the only pass catcher I want. What they got to do is use Mark Andrews and Isaiah Likely, which seem they're non-existent week in and week out. So I'm with you. I think they need to run the piss out of Derrick Henry. They need to run Derrick Henry and run him early, run him often, try to limit how much time Joe Burrow and the Bengals are on the field. It's got to be a Henry game. It's got to be a Henry game.
Yeah. And that's where, the concerns. I think that everyone who's watched Lamar the past few weeks say, they need to protect him a little bit. He's not playing the level you need him to where you trust him or want him necessarily to go out and try and win you a game, right? You want to control the ball. You want to limit the time of possession for the Bengals because for better or worse, whether Joe Burrow is in a ton of pain or not, he's going to stand in the pocket and he's going to throw the football. Because that's what this team is, and especially with how their running game has got going a little bit the past few weeks. We'll see how Baltimore's defense looks. I still like Baltimore's defense a lot. I think they've improved drastically throughout the season. Kyle Hamilton being back is huge. I think they will be able to generate their stops. But as a whole, I still think we want to see Baltimore play a little bit better because while, yes, they're leading the division right now, they don't look like a team that's ready to make it to the playoffs just yet.
Now, there's lots of
time. Yeah, there's lots of time for Baltimore to get healthy, for Lamar to feel better, for everything to kind of get right for this team. But they're not playing at the level right now to where I'm even confident in saying 100% they should be able to beat the Bengals because the Bengals defense isn't very good. But if Burrow plays how I kind of expect him to, which is pretty good or at least average, Lamar's been so below average. I definitely have some concerns over whether or not they're going to win this game, but it should be really fun. Should be really exciting. Excited to watch it as a nightcap to Thanksgiving football, but definitely still some concerns over Lamar. So hopefully, he has a big game and kind of disparages those. Yeah, I guess that conversation a little bit.
Yeah, Patrick says in the chat, Turner has been locked down. The Bengals are historically bad against tight ends this year. Yeah, 25 points per game in the tight end position. The next closest 15. That is staggering how bad they are.
And they traded Logan Wilson.
And traded Logan Wilson. Anytime touchdown, JRich? Andrews, anytime TD?
I'm sure the odds aren't that great because of the numbers you just outlined,
of the numbers.
Right?
Big Diaz.
I mean, it's not bad.
Shout out to Big Diaz from the chat, man. Big Diaz said, you starting Dak or Lamar this week?
Dak.
And
I wouldn't even say it's that close.
Because this should be a scoring bonanza. This should be a game where a healthy Lamar... And they say the Ravens' offensive line ain't very good either. This should be one, but 51.5?
I think historically,
it feels high, JRich.
We've seen a lot of points.
That feels like a high total.
Two injured quarterbacks.
That feels like a high total to me. Yeah. That feels like a very high total. I would probably take the under in this game. Anytime touchdown Andrews and taking the under point total. Same game parlay that. I would run that. I would. And Jamar Chase, ladder those Jamar Chase yards. I'd ladder 100, 125.
It's probably pretty high.
150. Well, Harmon said on MGM yesterday for him to go for like 150 was like plus 800. I was like, shit, I might take that, man. He had 264 the last time, but neither here nor there. I would start Dak Prescott over Lamar Jackson. I'd start Dak over Lamar in this one. Lamar just ain't look right. He's just not healthy right now, and it's unfortunate. It's unfortunate, but he's not healthy right now. All right, JRich, let's pivot out of Thursday. You wake up on Friday, we get some college football, and we get an NFL game right here between 2 8-3 teams. The Chicago Bears traveling to Philadelphia to face off against the Eagles. Caleb Williams versus Jalen Hurts. Jay, I don't know if you've seen all the chatter, and I don't know. I had put it on our show notes last night. I put the link on the show notes last night, and then I took it away because I forgot we weren't doing that type of show. But it was talking about Jalen Hurts, and some sports media guy from Philly said there's no chance they extend him again. And I was like, wow, okay. Have we gotten, is Hurts that hated? I can't recall a young Super Bowl winning MVP quarterback being hated this much. I mean, it was two guys from Philadelphia media, and they were saying not a chance they would pay him $55 to $60 million for another contract. They said there's absolutely no way Hurts will be back in Philadelphia after these next 2 years. I thought that was a little crazy to hear that, but I wanted to get your thoughts on that comment. And I wish I can give the people the appropriate credit, but some of y'all may have seen it out there. What are your thoughts on that? When I heard it, I was like, really? Like, you just do people think quarterbacks grow on trees? Do you just kick them to the curb? We don't want them. I don't know, Jay.
I think it's interesting because the number one, I guess, I don't know, intangible when it comes to playing quarterback is your ability to throw the football, right? And definitely there's been times, and I say times kind of loosely because it feels like long stretches, where Jalen Hurts has not shown the ability to throw the football consistently. And this is the reason why he wasn't necessarily going to be a first-round pick in the draft, right? There was always concerns about how well he could throw the football at the NFL level. It wasn't that he couldn't throw the football because he showed Oklahoma that he can throw for a lot of yards and he's capable of running a high-flying offense, which he's shown in the NFL as well. But there was always a concern about how well he could throw the football in the NFL. And he's definitely earned the right to say, like, look, you guys were wrong about me. But the problem is that when he's so consistently, like, week over week shows us that he's not a guy that you really want to go out and win a game too often. Every now and then, Jalen's got it in him. He can give you 350. He can give you, 60 or 70 on the ground and go out and win a game completely by himself. But at the same time, he was doing that against Dallas last week, and what happened? They threw up a goose egg in the second half, and no one understands how this team just completely fell apart. And that's where it's weird, because when he was with Steichen, he was a baller, like a certified baller. When he was with Kellen Moore, they were balling, right? Whether it was running the football, throwing the football, everything was going right, especially in the second half of the season once they really got going. So it's like, I understand play callers and OCs are important, but they seem extra important for a player like Jalen Hurts because we've seen other quarterbacks lose OCs, transfer coordinators, and still play similarly to the level they have.
Isn't this his third OC in like 3 years?
Fourth
OC in 4 years?
Because it was Steichen, it was Brian Johnson, that dude that was terrible when they sucked in 2023, Kellen Moore, and now Kevin Petula.
And now Petula.
But the funny thing is, when it's external hires, no problem. It's the internal hires that have been the issue when it was Brian Johnson and with Kevin Petula. No, Sirianni said he's not worried about play calling. He's not going to change play calling as of yet. But yeah, I definitely have some concerns about Hurts. Whether or not he gets extended, I don't know. It's going to depend on how he's looking, in those subsequent years once that time really comes about. I think they'll probably keep him, but I would not be shocked either if this team just decides to like completely change the way they play football, because it feels like even now they're playing a bit of an antiquated version of how NFL football and modern football is played today, and they probably want to try and change that a little bit because, again, in 2 years, you're not having Saquon Barkley anymore. Like, he's not even be on the team because he'll be done at that point. And if all you got is Jalen Hurts, and you don't got an A.J. Brown who will be at that point 31, 32 years old, like this team would need a revamp and a refresh that may not include Jalen Hurts on the roster.
Well, A.J. Brown's only 28, so he won't be 32 years old.
Won't he be 29?
He'll be 29 over the summer or in March, something like that. He's
still okay. I thought he was older than that.
No, he's still spry. It's good that you brought up Saquon Barkley because we keep talking about, like, they have no run game. They've got no running game right now. And this should be a Saquon Barkley game. This should be a Saquon game, JRich. Chicago's 6th worst in the NFL, 10-plus yard runs allowed. They've given up 40 runs of 10-plus yards this season. They're allowing the 5th most rushing yards per game to running backs, about 138. And through the air, they're a bottom 10 unit in total receiving PPR points allowed, giving up 56 PPR points per game to opposing pass catchers. All right? Listen. 13th worst against the wide receiver position specifically, so your Eagles receivers should be safe in this matchup, and they're giving up the 3rd most PPR points to slot wide receivers in the NFL. So this is huge for A.J. Brown, who can work in the slot, or Devontae Smith, who they stick him in there in the slot as well. Like, this should be a really good matchup for all your Philadelphia Eagles. Hurts, Barkley, Brown, Smitty, even the tight end position. Can this offense execute versus the Chicago defense? Yeah.
I think that's the biggest problem is that, even against Dallas, we said, okay, this should be a Saquon game. They should really get it going. And it was a Hurts and the passing game, which got going, which was good to see. But it doesn't help because they got going against Minnesota too.
I know.
And then the following week, they stunk it up. And so it's like there's been no consistency from this offense. Hopefully it can be a Saquon game. They're playing at home in front of the home fans. Should be really exciting. That Bears defense, especially against the run, is god-awful. But I still don't believe it's going to happen. I think the Eagles are going to win the game, but they're going to win the game they win every game. It's going to be gross. It's going to be disgusting. They're probably going to win like 17-13. But what are your thoughts on Caleb in this game? Because Caleb, for better or worse, has been up and down. Some quarters he's good, some quarters he's bad. Now he has to go against an extremely difficult defense. Do you think he'll find success against Philly?
I think they are a little better on paper than what the data says against receivers. They're league average. They're 16th, 17th in PPR points allowed to the wide receiver position. They've allowed 34 runs of 10-plus yards, which is 18th in the NFL. They're 10th best overall in just total receiving points per game allowed. That's across all positions, running backs, tight ends, and wide receivers. This is a difficult matchup for Colston Loveland. Philly is 3rd best versus the tight end, only allowing about 8 PPR points per game to the tight end position. What Caleb and Bears offense is going to show up, right? We've just seen them be so inconsistent from a receiver standpoint. One week, it's a Moore week. Next week, it's neither Rome or Moore. And then it's a Rome week, and then he's gone. It's just been an inconsistent. I tweeted it out. You can look at the usage, and it's a really good. I'm actually going to pull up the tweet because it captures, Jay, the inconsistencies or the changes in this offense. Weeks 1 through 5 prior to the bye, it was very clear what Chicago was trying to do. It was super clear. Rome Odunze was being prioritized as the unquestioned number 1 guy in the offense. And then post-bye, I'm going to show you what it looks like. I can show you better than I can tell you. All right? Here's what the Chicago Bears offense looked like the first 5 weeks. This is when Rome was a 20-point per game guy.
Ballin'.
Look at the usage. Way up here. DJ Moore down there. Zacchaeus. There's Loveland. There's Burden. Here's what it looks like since the bye week. Since the bye week, Rome Odunze is a sub 10-point per game guy. He's completely fallen down. Moore's kind of stepped up a bit. Loveland stepped up a bit. But more importantly, they're just jumbled together. The usage is pretty similar. It's Rome isn't producing. The other two are above the line. Rome is below the line. So it's just really, really strange how this offense has changed. I don't know what to expect out of Chicago. DeAndre Swift didn't run a lot last week. Kyle Monanga's getting more and more involved in the offense. I think they really hit a home run with that pick in the draft. Oh, yeah. I think Philly gets it done as well. This should be an entertaining game. I think this will be an entertaining. This feels like it's going to need to be a Caleb game to get it done. I think Caleb Williams, his legs running around, that's going to be part of the difference maker there, because the Philadelphia Eagles have lost safety Andrew Makuba, fractured his ankle on that catch by George Pickens at the end. I think Reed Blankenship is back, maybe not. Cooper DeJean, when they kicked him to the outside to play outside perimeter corner, he got cooked. He's not an outside corner. He's that slot safety hybrid. They tried to stick him on the outside and he got obliterated out there. So I do think that Chicago can find success. This should be a good game.
Yeah, I don't know if it's going to be a good game, because I've watched enough Philly games to know that a lot of their games are pretty awful. But, your thoughts about the Chicago offense make a lot of sense, right? And especially when you talk about the running game, like we've talked about it feels like almost every single week, is that they've committed to running the football. And Ben Johnson has figured out this rushing attack with Kyle Monangai and DeAndre Swift. Now, will they be able to find the same success that they've seen in subsequent weeks against this Philly defense? That's kind of the other question. I think they'll be fine, but I do think it will be a lot on Caleb. It's whether or not he can deliver, because you already showed the usage of the receivers and you don't know who's getting the ball. Ben Johnson has said, I don't care who you are a cog in my machine. And I will tell you who's going to get the ball when they're going to get it. And Caleb's either going to be able to deliver the ball or he's not. No one saw DJ Moore week last week. Nobody saw that coming, because he's
on
been
everyone's
awful.
Bench.
Right?
Yep.
And out of nowhere, he just goes off. So it's going to be matchup dependent. It's going to be, how do you feel about each player? And I think the key for them will be keeping the ball out of the Philadelphia Eagles' hand and relying on that rushing attack and hoping that Caleb can kind of make some plays on third downs, continue to move the ball down the field. But I think it's going to be a low-scoring, boring game. Honestly, I'm not expecting a whole lot of points in that one. But yeah, Philly should probably come away with this one.
I do. I disagree with you. I would take the over on the spread. I would take the over on 44.5. But listen, we got about 7 minutes left in the show. We got BR right after this, Jay. So we're going to rapid fire some of these games. And y'all know good and damn well, we ain't going to go on break without talking about 9. JRich, we got to talk about that man. 9. He's out this week, JRich.
Yeah,
concussion
so
symptoms on the plane.
Interesting. You get on Baker for hurt pride, but what is this, Ray? Plain concussion symptoms. Interesting. What does it mean?
Jay, come on, man. Come on, dude.
What does it mean?
What I'm saying? I don't want to hear that shit, JJ. I don't want to hear it, man. I don't want to hear it, JRich. Hey,
you thought
it's
it was
a rough week.
It's
a rough week out there for the McCarthy Truthers. It is between him and Cam Ward, them two quarterbacks, you need not go to social media about this week. But what are your thoughts here, man? JJ McCarthy out, already ruled out. They play at Seattle.
They play at Seattle.
JRich, conspiracy. Are they protecting him? Are they protecting him, JRich? Is Kevin O'Connell and company protecting JJ McCarthy here?
I personally think so. I think so 100%.
That is such.
It does not matter who's playing quarterback for the for the Minnesota Vikings. They're going to get destroyed in this game. The offensive line's a disaster, and Seattle has, in my opinion, the best defense in the NFL. I think them or the Rams, it's kind of a toss-up depending on which one you prefer. But with what Seattle did to that Rams offensive attack, I think that tells you just how strong this unit can be. And sure, we're getting the, who is it, Max Bosner is going to be starting this week. Brosmer. My apologies. Yeah, my apologies. The Brosmer.
That's right, Kevin. 9.
Because 9 can't go. Look, man. I'm excited because it's the Darnold revenge game. I want to see Darnold throw
I'm not excited. This is BS, man.
And 3.
Get out there and play, JJ. Let me see when they're going to bring him back from his concussion. Let's see when he's got an easy matchup. I don't want to see
JJ play anyways, because he's going to get destroyed.
Next
couple weeks is fun.
Oh, they're going to bring him back. Commanders, Cowboys, Giants. Yeah. He'll just... Jay, all I'll say is this, and I'm going to leave it at that. Throughout the pre-draft process, there were concerns about him not throwing the football. Dude, he didn't throw the ball at Michigan. He did not throw the ball at Michigan. They didn't
need to.
I don't care what anybody tries to break it down, percentage of throws in a 2-minute window and all this other bullshit. He never had to go get it, man. He never had to go get it. Blake Corum had 30 damn touchdowns that year. 30 of them, right? Defense was all world.
But they had 9.
They had 9. Greatest college quarterback in the history of the game, JRich. Let's keep it moving. Rapid fire. We got a couple of more minutes left in the show, JRich. Somebody had asked about Justin Herbert quickly. How do you feel about him this week? His left tackles are out of there. Hampton may be back. They're facing the Raiders at home. You feel good about Herbert this week?
I feel fine about Herbert. I wouldn't say I'm overly enthused. I definitely have some concerns about the team. You know, they're favored by, 10 points? Like, that's kind of crazy. They lost by 27 to the Jaguars.
Yeah.
They are coming off the bye.
Rapid fire.
They'll probably be fine. Yeah. I mean, they're going to win the game probably, but I wouldn't say I'm overly confident in Herbert this week.
San Francisco, Cleveland. What do you expect from Shador in his second start?
A bad performance, honestly. I think Saleh's going to give him fits. I think the San Fran defense can play well against him. Hopefully he looks better than Bryce Young did. Not that we're going to talk much about Monday Night Football, but yeah, I definitely have some concerns about Sanders. What are your thoughts on?
Said it's a great defense. They're objectively not over the last 4 games. Objectively, they are not.
Statistically, the pass defense has struggled, but I didn't ask you how good the San Fran defense is. I asked you what your thoughts are on Sanders. Do you think he's going to have success against his defense? Because you can rattle off the numbers.
I do.
But the numbers don't mean shit unless he plays well.
Multi-touchdown game.
Even when they pull him at the goal line.
2 touchdowns. He's scoring 2.
That's it. You can't even go for 3. You can't even get
Pittsburgh, Buffalo, JRich. Pittsburgh, Buffalo. I didn't know who to pick in this game. I honestly was like, I picked Buffalo, but I kind of wanted to pick Pittsburgh at home, but I picked Buffalo.
That I will spoil the picks, and obviously we'll do it in a little bit. But yeah, I did pick Pittsburgh. Do you know why?
Okay.
Because everything told me to pick Buffalo, and I'm like, I just can't do it with this team.
I know
they're gonna mess it up. They're gonna lose the game, and so that's where I'm just like, I want to believe in Buffalo. I love Josh Allen. I talk about him all the time, every show. But something about this team, man, they are just not playing well. They're just not, and I don't know why. Yes, we know they have offensive struggles. They have a lack of playmakers, whatever. But the strength of this Steelers defense should be stopping the run, which I think they can do. Secondary, we'll see. But there isn't exactly players that can beat them either. So we'll see what happens. But I did pick the Steelers to win. Aaron Rodgers coming back, I think, is a benefit. Just his ability to read defenses, put the team in good situations to win the game. They did run the ball fairly well against Chicago as well, which was surprising. Even though, again, their defense is bad, I still didn't expect them to run the ball that effectively. So for me, I do think that the Pittsburgh Steelers can win. And I believe there's a stat that Buffalo hasn't won in Pittsburgh ever past October, which is kind of interesting. But it should be pretty warm.
Well, listen, I said rapid fire. I want to get through some more games, but it is now 9 o'clock and we must depart. We will not be here on Friday. Enjoy time with your family. Enjoy the break if you celebrate Thanksgiving. But JRich and I will be back on Monday, bright and early, doing the show. As always, recapping everything that happened in Week 13. There will be a 2026 pre-Thanksgiving mock draft that drops on the channel tomorrow. So make sure you check that out. And honestly, man, enjoy. Take some time, enjoy. Put the work computer down. Have some fun with the family. Eat up, drink up, be merry, all that other good stuff. JRich, hit the music. Got a super chat from my dog, Adam. Super chat from Adam. Thanks for the pre-Turkey Day show. Much appreciated at Ray GQ. Like Lannisters, Eagles fans pay their debts. Please DM me an email for the gift for little man. I know you don't watch Game of Thrones, but a Lannister always pays his debts.
Yeah, I've watched Game of Thrones.
Okay, I just,
Why you gotta hit me with the disrespect?
No Stranger Things, no Game of Thrones.
Yeah, well, Stranger Things is
you watching Pluribus on Apple TV?
Nah.
You watching that? No.
I don't watch a lot of the new stuff now. Mostly older stuff. Yeah.
Much love. Yeah. We appreciate y'all pulling up. We appreciate y'all rocking with us throughout 13 weeks of the NFL season. Hit the thumbs up button, like, comment, subscribe, and then pull up Monday morning. Wake up with Ray and Jay. We'll be back. Happy Thanksgiving to all of y'all. We'll see y'all soon. We out. Peace.